Good evening, I'm Faye Barker. The number of tube lines set to run through the night has been expanded. Services will run 24 hours a day on a total of 9 lines by 2021 and on the DLR and London Overground. The announcement was made by Boris Johnson and the Chancellor as they took a nighttime tour of the Victoria line. But Labour questioned the Mayor's ability to deliver on his promise, saying he'd already checked out of City Hall. Glenn Goodman reports.
The Mayor and the Chancellor pulling an all-nighter down on the tracks. But soon it'll be the train drivers working all night through the weekends. Plans to introduce the 24-hour tube for a few of the lines are already well established. But today they've announced a longer-term plan for the rest of the network. From this September, there'll be 24-hour weekend services on the Northern, Victoria, Piccadilly, Jubilee and Central lines. In 2017, London Overground will begin running trains all night at the weekends. And by 2021, they'll extend the scheme to the Metropolitan, Circle, District and Hammersmith and City lines, as well as the Docklands Light Railway.
I think it'll be fantastic. London's growing so fast. You definitely need things like this. You've got people working, as you can see, 24 hours a day on our tube. I think our customers, our passengers also want to be able to travel 24 hours a day. It's a 24-hour city and we've got to do it.
The initial reaction from tube users was generally positive.
Excellent. Excellent for young people, excellent for everybody. And for me, I've got the free pass, even better.
I think it's quite a good thing. It's difficult to get home on a bus at night sometimes.
I think it's probably a good idea.
But some people were worried about safety on the all-night tube.
When people are there and they're drunk, there's no one to really kind of handle the perfect situation of if anything goes wrong.
This was a concern strongly echoed by tube unions.
In these times of heightened security, it is not wise to extend services without improving the numbers of staff on the tube, but the opposite is happening.
Today's announcement was part of a new long-term plan for London's future. The government says it will invest £10 billion in the capital's transport infrastructure, build more than 400,000 homes by 2025, and in the process create more than 500,000 jobs by 2020. The RMT union dismissed all of this as a pre-election stunt. It's certainly fortuitous timing, but it's up to voters to decide whether it's a sound plan for the future or more noise than substance. Glenn Goodman, ITV News.
A man's been charged with the murder of a 6-month-old baby boy. The child died in hospital after suffering a head injury. A 26-year-old man will appear at Hendon Magistrates Court tomorrow. A family business that stands on land needed for Tottenham's new stadium has lost its High Court challenge against a compulsory purchase order, forcing it to move. Archway Sheet Metal had been in dispute with the club for the last 10 years. Spurs hope to open their new stadium in 2018. A man convicted of involvement in the mafia has been ordered to return to Italy after losing his battle against extradition. Domenico Rancadore had spent nearly 2 decades living in Uxbridge under the name of Mark Skinner. And a cyclist who was killed in a crash in Victoria yesterday has been named as Claire Hitier-Abadi. The 36-year-old mother of 2 was hit by a lorry during the morning rush hour. Now, in court today, the Mayor of Tower Hamlets denied smearing his main rival as a racist. Lutfur Rahman has been accused of rigging last year's election, at which he won a second term, a claim he also denies. 4 voters are calling for a judge to overturn the result. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
His opponents have waited a long time for Lutfur Rahman to be forced to answer questions. Today, at an election court, the Tower Hamlets mayor was cross-examined under oath. And for the first time, he gave a public account of how he set up his party, Tower Hamlets First.
Lutfur Rahman said he delegated the setting up of his new party to another councillor, one of his close allies. Although party leader, he admitted he'd never seen a written constitution. The party doesn't have any members. It doesn't even have a bank account. The election judge, Richard Morey, wondered how someone might donate £10,000. In a pile of non-consecutive 50s, he asked.
Rahman has been accused of smearing John Biggs, Labour's candidate in last May's election, as a racist. But in the witness box, he insisted, "I did not instigate a campaign to call my rival a racist." Francis Hoare, the barrister for the 4 voters behind this case, asked if Rahman called them sore losers. "Yes, I did make that comment," he said. The hearing was also told that Rahman dodged questions in the council chamber after Tower Hamlets' senior lawyer advised him they breached his human rights.
I was actually at that council meeting. It was one of the more bizarre moments I think I've ever seen in 17 years of local government, that a leader of an authority should allow an officer to say there are human rights issues into reasons why they shouldn't answer a question on how they administer £1.2 billion of taxpayers' money.
Rahman denies rigging his election. He'll be back in the witness box on Monday. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Chelsea manager Jose Mourinho says he feels ashamed by the behaviour of fans on the Paris metro. Tonight, police released images of 3 Chelsea supporters believed to have been involved in pushing a black man off a train. Separately, the club has also suspended 2 more people from Stamford Bridge, taking the total to 5. Will Mott reports.
It's been a week of difficult questions for Chelsea, but when Jose Mourinho was asked about the incident in Paris, he gave a very simple answer.
They are not Chelsea. And Chelsea is the owner, is the board, is the manager, is the players, is the true Chelsea supporter. We feel ashamed, but maybe we shouldn't, because we are not. I refuse to be connected with these people.
These people are the fans that refuse to let this man board a train on the metro. It's inspired an appeal to pay for him to come and watch a game at Stamford Bridge, an idea the Chelsea manager welcomes.
In this moment, maybe he has a wrong idea of what Chelsea Football Club is. So yes, I would support the idea, even not knowing that the gentleman loves football or not, but yes, I would support.
Caroline Rice set up the online campaign. She told me she was delighted to have Mourinho's backing.
It's nice to be appreciated by the club and for them to understand that gestures from the fans are very important, as well as gestures from the club.
As well as the police, Chelsea are continuing their own investigation. Then they'll hope attention will turn back to what's been happening on the pitch.
Will Mott reporting there. Next, it's 35 miles north of the capital, but that hasn't stopped an estate agent labelling it as London. A new block of flats in Luton has been advertised as being in the heart of our cosmopolitan city. Well, the agent has since apologised, blaming it on a typo. Toby Sadler has the story.
It's a fixer-upper for sure. That's normally something that attracts a canny London buyer. Local amenities include the casino, the Red Lion pub and a dual carriageway. But it's still not one of the most cosmopolitan areas of London because it's in Luton. To be fair to those behind the development, this site is very close to a road that leads to London. That's the one over there. But you have to drive down it for 35 miles before you get there. Then there's the price. When they're built, a 2-bed penthouse apartment will cost in excess of £500,000. Local estate agent Mark Ellis has been selling property in Luton for 30 years. He says it doesn't add up.
I think they'll have a job on. Here, the most expensive flat that you'll probably find is probably in the region of about £200,000. And from that perspective, it would have to be very, very interesting property, that's for certain.
So expense and geography aside, is the location at least cosmopolitan? Bear in mind that in 2004, Luton residents voted their own town the worst place to live in Britain. It's been described today as a cosmopolitan centre. Is that a fair description?
No. I would not say that. I'm from London and I moved here 2 years ago. If it wasn't for work, I wouldn't be living here. So
every urban conurbation has got its problems up and down the country, and this one is, with diversity, I think it's doing very well, actually.
Yeah. You think it's a town on the up, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
The flats are marketed by the Remax Property Centre. In a statement, it blamed a typo, saying Remax London sincerely regrets the typographical error, London instead of Luton. However, further in the property description, it quite clearly states that the Flowers Way development is in Luton. The statement doesn't go on to explain how they plan to sell 2-bed flats at around twice the current market value. That should become clear next year when the flats are finished. Toby Sadler, ITV News, Luton.
All right, time for a look at the weather now. Here's Manali.
ITV London Weekend Weather, sponsored by Hive Active Heating. If only there were she's trying on everything in the shop forecast.
Hello there, good evening to you. Saturday's probably shaping up to be the best day of this weekend. Mostly dry, some scattered showers in the morning, but they'll ease into the afternoon. And although Sunday starts off dry, it will turn increasingly wet and windy. Overnight tonight, we've got a few showers feeding in across western parts and temperatures low enough across rural parts for a touch of frost in places. Tomorrow, a bright start to the day, some scattered showers, but the showers easing into the afternoon, becoming mostly dry. Quite a cool northwesterly breeze outside. Temperatures around 7 or 8 degrees. Good night.
Are you ready for the unpredictable?
That's it from us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Until then, from everyone here, have a good night and a great weekend. Bye-bye.